as you're our special guest that just arrived, we'll let you start. We'll just go down and do quick intros, and then we'll dive into it.
So,
Please introduce
hi everyone, I'm Alexandra. I'm based in Paris. I'm Italian, Brazilian. Very happy to be in Miami, where I had a house here for many, many years.
Nice.
I'm happy to see this crown building up something for the future.
Hi, I'm Benoit Bosque. I work for GSR. I used to live in Paris, but now in New York. We are a crypto market maker, and again, really happy to be on this panel and try to explain some of what we look at.
I'm Mark Yusko. I'm from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I don't have nearly as beautiful an accent as the former. Run a firm called Morgan Creek Digital, and we do venture capital and early stage investing around the digital asset ecosystem.
Hi, my name is Miko. I'm with Gumi Cryptos Capital. And I think we're probably around 400 million AUM now and just doing early stage venture. So, we're investing out of our fund too and looking for great projects.
Awesome. And I'm Austin Davis. I'll be moderating the panel. These guys will do most of the talking. I'm the co-founder of CrownBits Rewards and a bunch of other companies, but let's get into it. So the title is Moving Markets, analyzing the early movers. That could have several meetings, but I want to start with the early mover part. And we'll start with you, Miko, because you had some ideas. What are some of your favorite early movers? This is going to apply to all of you guys. People and layer ones and other things. The early movers, some of your just favorites that you like and
yeah,
why.
I mean, going back to the kind of crypto winter of 2018, we led the strategic seed round into OpenSea. That's a bit irregular, and the reason why I call it irregular is that OpenSea was sort of 0 to 1 innovation, right? Which doesn't always necessarily have to be the case, right? Like one of the things that we look for quite a lot is disruption, right? So one of the things we look for is replace a giant rent-seeking intermediary with a protocol, right? So if you can knock out something where there's an incumbent that sort of deserves to be removed, which is, by the way, why we're optimistic about the gaming segment, right? Which is we think that there's huge publishers in gaming that deserve to be removed and can be removed, and that the pressure in the gaming set, you may have attended the previous panel on AAA gaming, right? So for us, just to kind of wrap up that thesis bit, right, which is we think that the discontent is not with the gamer. Gamers are not like, oh, I really want to play a Web3 game with NFTs. Like said, nobody ever, right? Like that doesn't exist, right? But developers are discontent. The developers are sick of EA and sick of all the big publishers, and so the revolution's real. And we think that that's where the next billion users come from. So we think some of the innovation 0 to 1, which is hard to spot, but we think that a lot of the innovation is really just classical revolution, technology revolution, just take out an incumbent.
Excellent. How about you, Mark?
I think the early mover kind of construct here is interesting in that this is a transformational technology that I think is the next generation of computing power. What blockchains do is they enable us to have this internet of everything, or internet of value. And it goes back to the 50s, from mainframe computers to the microchip to personal computer to the internet to the mobile net, where we all walk around with these little supercomputers, to now everything ubiquitously being connected. But it's the rent-seeking middle people that get disrupted. So the internet and the mobile net disrupted media and commerce. And all of those, hundreds of billions of dollars got captured. I always say, ABC, NBC, CBS. When I was growing up, Tuesday night, sit down, watch Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley. They owned my eyes, my time, my wallet, and it all went to Netflix because they had a better business model using the internet. Same thing's going to happen in Web3. So some of the early movers, whether it be NFTs, which is an unfortunate term, right? Non-fungible token
Agree.
It is the thing, right? A token is an entry on a database, on a ledger, fine. But to me, it's digital property rights. Anything where you can own property will eventually be an NFT. I just don't think we should call it that because people think monkey JPEGs. And then I guess the last thing I would disagree just a tiny little bit. In lockdown, my son got me playing Pokemon with him. He's 8 then, now 11. And now I play more than he does. I actually would like NFTs in gaming because all that time that I converted into value now is still owned by Niantic. I would like to own that And unlike scarcity, like a Mickey Mantle baseball card, where all the originals disappeared except the one, so it's worth thousands of dollars, or a Magic the Gathering card that there aren't very many of that's worth 15 or 20 grand. If you've spent a lot of time building up a particular monster, why can't you own that and and sell it to somebody?
Yeah, I don't think you're representative though, right? Like you're a believer.
True. So. I am a believer. That's true.
Exactly. All right, Benoit.
Yeah, tough act to follow. Those are very good examples. But I like to also reflect on the fact that, within the crypto community, people love to say that we're early. And so to some extent, I think back of some of the crypto OGs that I've met, and, including the founder of our firm, but like others. But I also really have so much respect for people who are out there innovating and building right now. And the resilience that we've seen throughout this market cycle, which has been brutal, the kind of news, the kind of headlines that we've seen, and to see people still building, still creating, still innovating, still iterating. Like the NFT space is a fantastic example, but even in DeFi, even in new layer ones, even trying to tackle some of these intermediations that you're describing,
Sure.
I think it's just fascinating at the moment.
And this is the best time for sure to be building, right?
I want to really hammer that point, because if you go back to the internet, pets.com, right? The epitome, the poster child of the failure of the internet is chewy.com. It's the same damn company, it's just the same thing, and now it's worth $20 billion. And it was because we didn't have broadband, we didn't have GPS tracking, we didn't have all the infrastructure layer. And so that building was necessary. And just like all the .com stocks that were like cryptos, they went up and went down. Art Technology Group, 0. Internet Capital Group, 0. I have a shirt with Internet Capital Group is worth more than the stock. But that was because they were playing on the thing. They weren't actually building anything. But people who built businesses, Amazon went down 94% in 2001. And people said, oh, he's dead. And there was a cover story, Jeff, go mine the store, when he tried to do AWS. Well, no, he was building. And so there are people building great stuff. And at least in my career, every downturn, if I go back a long time, 35 years, every downturn, we do our best investments because people are resilient and do build because they get displaced. They don't have any other choice.
So on that really quick, you run a fund. Do you invest more in the people because you believe in them and they're resilient? They'll come back, just like the story you told about Bezos, or is it
always people?
Tech?
It's always people. Always people. There are 4 Ps: people, process, philosophy, price, or performance. Most people focus on this. They chase the hot dot. They chase the number. We go the exact opposite way. Philosophy and process are important, but it's people.
Right. Okay. Same, Miko. Okay, great.
So I'd like to go back a little bit to what Miko said. What really fascinated me in this business that we're creating, because Web3 is just a concept, it's being created as we talk, is this technology was really created and developed to bank the unbankables. We have to go to the genesis, why the cryptocurrencies were created. Yep. We have to go back to the 2011, 2015, 16, 17, why ICOs were banned in China, because really reach the little middle people who put in their little investment to get a little bit of profit. That is why we banned that in China. So the name ICO completely disappeared. And then we had the NFTs, it was a kind of scammer too. We had a lot of people putting money and losing money, but it's great because put NFT in the map because we would need NFTs on the metaverse. NFT is pure digital content that is linked to your wallet. A lot of young people use that to make little money. That is why you grow the communities. I've been investing in companies that really doing early stage investment and being very happy, but I'm really very concerned about where we're heading because I do a lot of summits and the discussion now come to business development, people making profit. We're not talking about the core of our business.
Well, that's
really to disrupt and create technologies who's not going to help the rich Miami people or the Manhattan people who are making a lot of money.
That's right.
But it's really going to help all the Latin Americans, all the Asians and the South African people, Sub-Saharan African people.
That's right.
Who really need to be integrated into economical financial system that we are building to make them. So this is my vision.
Yeah, for sure. And the
future.
profit machine you're talking about, that scares me the most about the AI that we're developing right now. Because Facebook, one of the strongest AI engines we've built as humanity. And what does it focus
I
on?
don't see
Profit.
them developing any
is the main
project
driving
for
force behind it.
Sub-Saharan Africa.
Right.
I don't see going to the communities, indigenous communities, could really,
Right.
really
People that
evolve
really need
and
it,
profit from this technology.
Of course.
So I see all the startups, all this company bringing great projects, but infrastructure, zero. Now we're looking into a blockchain company that can really put blockchain into the real world.
Exactly.
That corporations like Costco, Air France, governments can apply this technology. Then we're talking what we're building for the future.
Perfect. Well said. Miko?
So I want to respond to the two sides of what you said. Like, I'm definitely a proponent of sort of this banking the unbanked phenomenon, right? Simply because, like, when you really look at the cost per account, right, the centralized systems don't reach. There's just no reason for them to go to these things, whereas an open source internet protocol can reach everyone, right? So in a sense, like, that kind of like last mile user that's kind of not worth banks acquiring, right? So in a sense, that becomes really a really compelling case, right? The other thing that I think is really exciting about that, ultimately is that, those are underserved, right? So obviously, like, we can reach them. I would say with respect to kind of the emergence of these large enterprises kind of playing in blockchain, like, I don't see it. I'm a super big skeptic on, because in a sense, like, those are the big rent-seeking intermediaries, and there's no reason for them to try to disintermediate themselves unless they're under crushing pressure. But usually that's what they do, is they usually wait for the crushing pressure, and then they're too late, and then they die.
That's right. Benoit, you had something to say?
No, I just again, like, I just really like it. I think we've had, again, very challenging market condition, and you've seen this adoption from some of those companies. Like, you've seen that with Polygon, you've seen that with like others, Dapper and so on, where people also want to be associated with this technology because they know, like, it makes sense from a sociological standpoint, but also just financially, they want to reach into like those new population. That's the frontier for them also. And same thing, like, they want to be innovative, they want to be, at the forefront. And I think, they're just developing ways to access those new markets, those new people, and that is going to just generate, like, bilateral benefits. I'm very convinced.
Right. Okay. So
Yeah,
really,
but one
go ahead.
point,
Go ahead.
it's just, we got derailed. And we got derailed because of human nature, fear and
right.
greed. And what happened is central banks around the world flooded the system with money to make up for the problem of an addiction to debt. Every empire in the history of mankind, from the Roman Empire to the Ottoman Empire to the British Empire, failed for the same reason. Governments replaced capitalism with cronyism. All the assets get to the top. What do? You print a lot of money, devalue your currency. People at the top get rich, people at the bottom get poor. Never have a revolution, end of empire. Same thing's happening in the United States. So we flooded the system with money, and unfortunately, stock market became gamified. So people stopped buying stocks as a share of a company. They bought it because number go up. And Tesla's a perfect example. Tesla will never make money. The only way they make money on paper is by selling carbon credits, but they actually don't make money as a business, yet the stock went to the moon. And for now it's headed back to Earth. And will continue. It's worth zero, right? Their liabilities exceed their assets. The stock itself is worth zero, but we gamified stocks. Well, then we gamified crypto. And that's the real problem as I see it. In fact, I said the bear market can't be over until Doge and Shiba are zero. And yet, they're still multi-billion-dollar fucking things that are so ridiculous.
People like to play games.
And there was a group on the main stage that meme coins are real, meme stocks. Are you fucking kidding me?
So
Seriously.
I love this take. One of the things. So I was in Berlin last week.
I don't feel strongly about
Next Block Expo, and my pitch was this, right? Which is collapse is what happens on the outside. Mm-hmm. What happens on the inside is called capitulation, right? And collapse is the destruction of markets, right? Whereas like capitulation is the destruction of your ideas, right, of what you hold to be true that is actually false, right? And so capitulation, as soon as we get to capitulation, we can start moving forward, right? And I think, that's what you're alluding to.
But what I'm saying is you focus on building. You guys talked about building. There are amazing things being built that actually do things, like
For sure.
bank the unbanked, like we're investors in a company that you can transfer money anywhere in the world instantaneously, okay, across the Bitcoin blockchain for free. Not for 30% like Western Union, for free.
Lightning?
Yeah, it's over Lightning.
Yep.
And okay, free is the wrong number. It should cost something, 1%, 2%. Free is the wrong number. But that is better technology, but you can't get rich owning that like you can, quote unquote, some shitcoin that goes like this.
So
Right.
what you're kind of saying is what has to die actually is Twitter.
Yes.
It sounds like what you're saying is the old stock model has to die because the whole pump and dump
It will not die.
scheme, right? Because that's essentially what
It was paid to.
tokens are. They
Right.
just move faster and they're more liquid and they're less regulated, right?
It's a
a way.
misnomer. It's like jumbo shrimp, a utility token that has no utility.
But those are
is-
going to disappear. We're going to clean up the market. Very few coins will stay. Utility coins will stay. Usable coins will stay. And we're going to have the very big movers in the next 5-6 years making coins. And they'll have a real value. So
I
the
think
market's
the-
going to be clean.
So I think that it's really impossible to drive the value of an asset to zero, but you can drive the liquidity to zero.
Good point. No, it's a great point. And yes,
That's what happens.
Yeah.
Exactly. So go ahead.
No, please.
Because
Okay.
of bag holders.
Actually, so let's talk about like some of the capitulation or collapse on either side. So there's a lot happening right now, and we don't even need to name names of all these companies. We all know there's big companies collapsing. There's funds. There's investor money. There's retail money. How does that impact market making? Because you guys run funds. We understand how that works at a high level. A lot of people probably don't understand how market making works. So give us a snapshot on that and how the collapse of all these companies and this industry shrinking a bit has affected market making and vice versa. Does market making make it better?
I think that's a very interesting question, and I'll tie it to what was just said, that market making is about liquidity. It is about providing liquidity to a project, like the way that we look at market making in crypto, which is slightly different from traditional markets. In crypto, it's a contractual relationship with the token issuer, typically, to make sure that the asset is investable and tradable on many venues, both centralized and decentralized. And what's interesting in crypto is that there is this intrinsic link between the value of the tokens and how they validate the network and the protocol, essentially, so that the product and the financial side are kind of linked, and the market makers really do focus on providing the financial health to the protocol so that the team can focus on their product. That's really the proposition. What's happened recently, and it is both a credit crisis but also a trust crisis that's really shaken the industry, has caused the pullback in liquidity. And for most, in some cases, that's been pretty dramatic and really limits the potential for adoption. So for us, it's really been about stepping up and making sure that quite opposed to that we, how should I say, stood up to those pressure,
Right.
precisely showed up for our client and make sure that those markets are still highly functional
Right.
on other venues. And
Yeah, but the one thing I'll add is the difference is, again, this is right back to 2000, 2001, 2002. History repeats. I mean, it doesn't actually repeat, but it rhymes. What we're living through is exactly what happened in 2001, right? You had the tech bubble, you had it roll over, and then you had the fraud. Enron, WorldCom, et cetera, Tyco come to the surface. And the difference is the liquidity providers, the market makers, were regulated and actually had capital, right? The problem is the fraud at Enron was not systemic the way the fraud at FTX was in the sense that they were supposedly, in theory, providing liquidity, but they weren't. It was all a lie. It was all fake. And that has the potential to set us back years in terms of adoption and trust, because at the end of the day, we're trying to replace trust with truth. That's what a blockchain does. It establishes truth. But trust has gotten us the last 800 years. From the 1200s with the Medicis, the banking system has had an 800-plus year run. That is going away, but they're going to fight really, really hard. And that's what's going on right now, is they are fighting really hard.
I think we're not quite there yet. As in, there is a trust crisis, but we need to solve this before we go trustless. Right now, DeFi is too small. Like, people were like fully decentralized. It's just too small of a community. We're going to need to rely on those centralized exchanges. And I think the industry has failed to self-regulate. They will get like more chances at establishing some pillars of trust and trying to rebuild that. And regulators are going to come in and try to do their thing as well. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of different forces at play. But I do think we're still going to have a few more years of reliance on those centralized systems. And we as a community kind of need to do better and step up. And that's certainly the role we've taken as market makers. So that's been really how we look at it. And to go back to like the early movers, I think we really look similar to you in your investment process at like the team, the product market fit, the philosophy, and kind of like then assess like how to best position those protocols within the ecosystem for them to succeed.
I would like to add, because I think this crash, it's very positive for the business and for the market, because we have to clean up the field. I do a lot of cross-cultural business between Asia, Middle East, Europe, United States, and I see a lot of similar companies being built, but very good tech being built in Asia and in Europe, but not in the United States. So for the first time, it's not a lead-in from Palo Alto, Stanford Kids. It's a really cross-country. We have great people in Middle Europe, Switzerland, France, top people.
What's your favorite market? You do a lot of speaking around the world and business around the world.
I think Middle East, the adoption is very, very high.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
very
it is
fast.
for sure.
You can buy a house in Dubai with crypto.
Yep.
You can rent a place.
I went there
with
5 times
crypto.
last year, never before that. So it says something about that part of the world booming.
The adoption is very high because the government is very flexible.
Yep.
And I'm fully for, you cannot regulate what it's then centralized.
Yep.
So we're never going to reach a common sense, international common sense into regulation. We have to put some regulations for transparency and full KYC. That's exactly what misses in the market. So I go talk to some people like Italy, we're very far away. So I talk to government people, senators. I educate, and we need education. We still need a lot of education. So when something like FTX happen, I like it. Because the old people say, oh, you see, I told you. I say, but just wait and see.
Change is good. Change is good. Disruption is good.
We're going to disrupt the banking system, so just
For
wait
sure.
and see.
All right, and unfortunately, we do have to wrap there because we're out of time, but thank you so much. If there's no closing statements, I guess we could say just one word. Favorite L1 moving into next year, maybe bear market continues.
Hold
maybe
into
comes
your
back.
wallets, keep buying, just be happy. We're going to run.
Okay, sure. I was just going to say Bitcoin, but
just invest in innovation.
That's right.
Innovation is an asset class. All other assets come from the innovation that people around. And the fact that there's very few people in the room is a really good thing, because it means we're actually close to the bottom. It's just like you asked about.
Yeah.
You know, it's the best time ever to invest as investors. Fundraising sucks. It's a really good sign because it means you're close.
right.
I mean, I just want to emphasize that as well, which is that when you think about the power law distribution, right, we're seeing in this room, it's the head end, right? It's the kind of most high conviction people, you know. So I think that's kind of why we win, right? And you know, people that kind of fair weather took off, like, fuck them.
Exactly. All right.
Thank
That's it.
you.
We're done here.
Multi-chain.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. Cheers.